Your behavior is not random. It's running an audit on your identity every single day. And the version of you that keeps showing up in your decisions, the one that stalls, that orbits the thing that actually matters, the one that defers the call that needs to be made, that version has a name. It has a pattern, and it has a gap between what it claims to be building and what it's actually building. Most people have no system for seeing that gap precisely, so they repeat it. Not because they lack awareness, because awareness without a feedback loop is just another form of not seeing. Here's what nobody built a system for. So let me draw a line right here, and then draw a line right here. So in here, there's a gap, okay? And so every personal development framework gives you one of two things: what you should do, or who you should become. And nobody built a system for tracking the distance in real time every single day. And this gap here between the identity that you're claiming to build and the identity that your actual behavior is reflecting back, without a daily feedback loop, in order to be able to see it precisely, you will never close the gap. So you repeat it. And here's what most people have not thought about just yet. GPT, Claude, or whatever AI tool that you're using is running that audit, whether you realize it or designed it in the first place. Every prompt that you've ever typed into GPT or Claude has been a data point. The questions that you keep asking, the problems that keep coming up, the decisions that you keep deferring, the language that shows up in every single session without you noticing. GPT, Claude, or whatever AI tool that you're using already has a profile on you. The question is whether you're going to use it or let it accumulate in the background. And this is a pattern that I've mapped out across myself and many of the other entrepreneurs that I work with. And when I looked at their actual AI usage, the questions they asked, the problems they kept returning to, the decisions they kept deferring, a completely different identity was running the show. It's because nobody had ever pointed the tool at the gap, the distance between who they were claiming to build and what their behavior was actually reflecting back. And what showed up across every single one of them was the same thing. The moment they were given a structured system for using AI as a daily feedback loop, not for output, not for strategy, not for answers, but for seeing their own identity in real time, the pattern finally had somewhere to be interrupted. What I'm going to show you today is exactly that system and exactly how to run it using GPT, Claude, or whatever AI tool that you're using. So let's go back to the board and let's look at this gap here in these two lines. So at the very bottom here, we have current identity. And at the top, we have identity that is intended. So it's intended identity. And here's the thing with this gap. You see, most people know that that gap exists. They can feel it. They acknowledge it. They understand it. And they know that they've felt it for many years because awareness of the gap has never been a problem. The problem is that nobody gave you a daily mechanism for seeing it precisely enough to close it. And today, you're going to learn exactly how to close that gap. Okay, so here's everything that we're covering today. So we're going to go over the archetype that I call the output optimizer. And these archetypes, I like to look at them as patterns that are running. This is someone who is highly informed and consistently active and deeply aware of who they're trying to become and still cannot figure out why the same behavioral loops keep repeating. The second thing that we're covering is the architecture. This is where I'm going to show you what's going on underneath the loop. You see, this gap here has a structure, a specific mechanism. And until you can see that mechanism precisely, every system that you build on top of it just adds noise. And then finally, we're going to go over the audit system. And this is an acronym here. This is a 5-step system, and this system helps you use AI to generate a feedback loop that you can actually analyze, you can see, and you can use that you've never had before. Okay, so I want to walk you through an archetype that I call the output optimizer. And this specific archetype looks productive from the outside. They use GPT, Claude, every single day for strategy, for research, for writing, for planning, for content, and for execution. They have tons of AI knowledge. And yet, they cannot figure out why. They keep repeating the same behavioral patterns. Every single week, it's the same thing over again. They plan to take action on a project, and days and weeks go by and they just don't get to it. You see, the identity that they're building in their head and the identity that their daily behavior is reflecting are pointing in opposite directions. And when you ask this archetype, the output optimizer, how they use AI, they'll give you a long list. They'll tell you, I'm using it for writing, for strategy, for content, for automations. But here's the one place that they never pointed to: themselves. You see, the output optimizer doesn't have an information or knowledge gap or issue. Their problem is that they don't have a feedback loop So no feedback loop for seeing their own identity in real time. Powerful here. So they have no feedback loop for seeing their own identity in real time. And that's where this gap gets eliminated, because you can use AI, GPT, Claude, any tool that you're using to understand the gap here and look at the patterns and see the feedback loops that are happening through your AI discussions and conversations that you may not be aware of. Because what most people are doing here is they're optimizing their output while their identity drifts in the opposite direction. And this is the trap. AI can help you produce more, but if you never used it to reflect the identity that's producing the output, you become more efficient at avoiding the real problem. Let me show you the architecture that changes this. So here's the architecture. So when it comes to your identity and how you're getting your results, here's the chain. So you have thoughts that go into decisions, then go into actions, which lead into results. This is normally how people function, how most people will function in terms of getting results, okay? They're having specific thoughts about what they want to accomplish. They think about strategy, think about content, automation, workflows, all these different things, okay? Then they make a decision in terms of what they're going to do. And then they actually take the physical action and it gets them a result. And all of this feeds back into your identity. So your intended or your actual identity that you're wanting to become, right? And now when you're doing this right here, this is all going towards your current identity, right? Because all of this is a byproduct of your current identity, okay? And when you are able to lead with your intended identity, this whole entire chain changes the game for you, and it changes the results, right? Because you're leading with the intended identity. Because ultimately here, when it comes to the identity and wanting to have the right one for you to get your desired results and reality, you need to understand that your identity is the output of your patterns. So all the patterns that you're running, your identity is the output of that, of all of those different patterns. And it's not just one, it's multiple, right? This particular archetype here, the output optimizer, this is just one pattern. You could be running multiple different patterns that are going to give you your identity, right? Because that is the output of your patterns. And all of this here in terms of your identity is based off of what you repeatedly think, what you repeatedly decide, and what you repeatedly do. That is the identity that is actually running, not the one that you say you're building. And this is a reframe that everything else runs through. AI equals mirror. It's a very, very powerful mirror. It's not about or not what should I do, but what does what I'm doing say about me? Notice the difference there, right? Most people are going to be using AI to figure out what to do. Hey, tell me what to do here. Hey, tell me what do you think I should take on in terms of an action or event or circumstance. How should I approach this? How should I do X, Y, and Z? Or can you automate this for me? This is where what does what I'm doing say about who I am, about my identity, about how I am coming up and showing up in the world. You see, because AI is not a coach, it's not a therapist, it's not a replacement for judgment. When used correctly, it's the most honest mirror available because it has no agenda. It doesn't protect your self-image. It doesn't soften what it sees. It doesn't care if the pattern is uncomfortable. AI sees patterns. So let's write this here. AI sees patterns that you have learned to ignore. All the patterns about what you're doing in terms of using AI to help you get things done, to accommodate and execute on different things that you're trying to accomplish, right? Whether it be automations, whether it be images, workflows, to help you come up with the strategy, content, whatever that may be, right? While you're doing all of that, when you are able to zoom out and see all of the patterns that are running through everything that you're doing and talking about and workflows, how you're thinking, all of that, when you're able to zoom out and see what are all these patterns that you see that I'm running based off of our interactions, our communication, how I'm coming across, because all that information is extremely valuable for helping you become the next version of yourself. Okay, so now let's go over the audit, the identity calibration system. So let me go ahead and erase the board here and we'll jump right in. Okay, so let's go over the audit identity calibration system. This is an acronym. And so this is 5 steps. So let's walk through each one of these. So the first one, A, you want to analyze your actions. At the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to dump everything that happened, no softening, no sugarcoating, just being completely real. So everything that you thought, what you actually did, all the decisions that you made, and everything that you avoided. So everything out there, you're laying it out on the table. And here's the prompt that you want to use in GPT or Claude. Here's what I did today. And then here you want to list, let me put a little box here, list all actions, decisions, and we'll go conversations, events, what you avoided, all of this, okay? And all of it. Let's not hold anything back here and let's get real. Like, think of this as someone like you are close to and you're just dumping all of your emotions, your situations, conversations, events, how you were feeling, all of that. Like all of this so that the system, GPT, Claude, can have full data in terms of what happened, what you did. And the reason why this is so powerful is because AI has a full picture of you, right? They have full context, full chat history. Like they know what you've been talking about, what you've been thinking about, all the different ideas, perspectives, frames of mind that you've had, and just worldviews, okay? Worldview as a whole. And then you're telling it to tell you and give you an analysis of everything that happened this particular day, and it's going to respond to you with no bias. It's not trying to protect your ego, your identity. It's not trying to protect you, because what you're doing here is you're holding up and you're getting access to a full picture, okay? So like you got a picture here, there's a bunch of designs, I don't know, just whatever design here, we'll put picture, okay? Art, piece of art, okay? And you get to see the full entire picture. Maybe before, you only saw a quarter of it or half of it. But here, you get to see the full entire picture, playing field, okay? From AI, because it's going to reflect back to you precisely and not going to sugarcoat it and try to make you feel good. And through this, here's what's important. The audit starts with what happened, not why. You're not asking for why. You're not looking for why. Okay? You're looking at, for here, when you're typing this and you're trying to get an audit of your identity to recalibrate it so that you can get the identity and step into the identity that you actually want so that you can accomplish your goals and get your desired reality. It all starts with what happened. Here's everything out there in the open on the playing field, right? On the chessboard. And then step number 2, you understand the pattern. Now, this is where you ask AI, what did you see? What are you seeing here? Through all of this, through what's going on, and also here, not only is it going to show you what's going on today, but it's also going to factor in, hey, from all the conversations that we've had previously, this is what I think, this is how I see things, these are the patterns that I see overall, right? So you want to understand the patterns here. And the prompt that we want to use is, what patterns in my behavior do you see in my behavior today? What do these actions say about the identity I'm operating from? Very, very powerful. So you get to see the patterns in your behavior today, and then what these actions say about your identity that you are operating from. So you're going to see how the dish is being made. So you get to see all the different ingredients, how everything's mixing together and coming together so that you can get a beautiful 5-star meal, dish, whatever that may be, right? You're seeing everything behind the scenes, okay? And this is what you want to get so that you can understand the patterns and recalibrate your identity, right? And the biggest thing here that I want you to keep in mind is that you're not asking for advice. You're not asking for what you should do differently. What you're asking for is a simple reflection of what the data currently shows. And so for this one, I want to keep in mind that you don't need more self-awareness. Because a lot of people that are going through this and that already have high self-awareness, like they know who they are, they can name their patterns, they can see all the different things that are going on. Even though those people are self-aware, super self-aware, still sometimes and oftentimes will run into issues, into problems, and they will procrastinate. They will plan to do something and they don't follow through. So all of these different things, right, that people can be aware of and not take action on is not going to help, right? So it doesn't matter if you have even more self-awareness, right? Here, what's most important is to have a clear mirror. This is what you need, okay? You need a mirror that is much cleaner to see yourself fully, like without any bias, okay? Self-awareness, oftentimes we tend to miss things, skip things because they make us feel uncomfortable, or because they are just things that we don't really think are happening to us or that we're doing, right? And so we're kind of have this cognitive dissonance where we know that we're not supposed to do something, but then we do it anyways, or we give advice to people and say, hey, don't do this, while you're simultaneously doing it, right? So this is where you need a much more clear mirror, okay? And let me actually redraw this circle here, because this doesn't look the greatest. Let me just draw a circle like this, like this. This is like a mirror, okay? And this is the mirror right here, okay? You need to be crystal clear, okay? Looks kind of off, but crystal clear mirror. Step number 3, D, detect identity gaps. This is where you fully name the gap, and very specifically, between the identity that you say that you're building and the identity that your behavior is reflecting. And the prompt for this one, where does my behavior today not match the person I say I want to be? Okay, so not matching the behavior today, right? That isn't matching the person I say I want to be. Where's the conflict? Where's the issue here? Where's the gap? And then what identity am I actually running? And this is the most controversial step in the system itself, and it's the most valuable, because most people already know who they say they want to be. What they don't have is a daily mechanism for comparing the statement to the evidence. Step number 4, we want to implement corrections from the identity that you want to be operating from, not the one today that's reflected back. And so for this one, the prompt is, what specific action tomorrow would align me with the identity I say I'm building? You're looking for a specific action that you can take in the next 24 hours tomorrow, right? That would align you with the identity that you say that you're building. And for this, the very important thing here is that you're not looking for an entire strategy or framework or a whole entire system or process. You're looking for one specific action. And that specific action needs to be something that your old identity would likely avoid. Because ultimately, your identity is built one aligned action at a time equals identity build. Okay? This is how you build your identity. It's always going to be one aligned action that you, in terms of the identity that you want to be operating from, is going to be taken, right? And that your old identity would hesitate, would likely not do and avoid, because it's scary, it's different, it's out of the norm, right? It's not safe. It's just completely out of the field of awareness. And so one aligned action allows you to build your new identity. Step number 5, final step, track daily. And the important thing here in the beginning is that you track every single day, because the identity that is actually running, the one that your behavior reflects, is being written daily, whether you're watching for it or not. Because consistency of awareness creates consistency of behavior. So let's go ahead and recap this. So the audit system here, you want to first start with analyzing your actions. Here's what you did today. Be completely clear and lay it all out, okay? Dump all of it in terms of conversations, events, what you avoided, how things went, who you talked to, all of that you went through in that particular day. Understand the patterns. What patterns do you see in the behavior, right? Ask GPT, Claude. Allow them to help you see these actual patterns so you can see what actual identity that you're operating from, okay? Detect the identity gaps. Where does the behavior today not match the person that you say that you want to be? Okay, where are those at? And what you want this to do is to give you a more clear mirror, okay? Which it will with AI. Once you ask the right questions and once you follow this system here, it's going to reflect back to you beautiful and amazing things so that you can recalibrate and change your identity. So from here, you go to implement corrections. You actually want to take action and you ask, what is one action that I can take tomorrow in 24 hours that would align with the identity that I say I'm building and that I want, right? And then track daily. You want to make sure that you're able to see every single day what's running, what's happening, what's going on. Because what this system does is it allows you to see yourself clearly so you can adjust and become better every single day. In closing, I want you to ask yourself 5 questions. What did you actually do today? And does it match who you say you're becoming? What pattern showed up in your behavior this week that you've been too comfortable to name? What identity is your behavior actually reflecting, not the one that you're claiming to build? Where's the gap between your intention and your behavior costing you the most right now? And what is the one action, the identity that you're building would take, that you've been avoiding? Your behavior is not betraying you, it's revealing you. And now, for the first time, you have a system to see exactly what it's showing